Stiff Truth. Welcome to the Stiff Truth. I am Bob West with your illustrious, amazing host, Scott Casanova. How you doing? How's that drink in your hand?
Man, it is dangerous. Let me tell you that right now, my friend. But it's good. It's good. I'll tell you what, all the hype, it was warranted. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right out of the gate here, buddy.
It is good. I have a feeling just one's going to get us a little bit fucked up.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime I think when you start bringing our friend grain alcohol into the mix, I think there's a big potential that we're going to get a quick buzz going on fast style. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, too. We talked about this yesterday as well. We both now have grain alcohol in the bar, which is great. It's like kind of one of those, for emergencies, break glass kind of thing. So in that weird kind of alcoholics doomsday that we hope never, ever happens to anybody out there, where you just, kind of like today when you woke up and there was just no vodka, but imagine that. And it was all the alcohol in the house, but you're like, dude, it's okay. Everybody calm down. We can get rid of the shakes. I've got my grain alcohol here. Where is it? It's under the sink in the bathroom with like the toilet
next
cleaner.
To the other alcohols and chemicals.
Exactly. But it'll still get the job done. But I did find myself thinking, like, even analyzing the brands, because of course you got the tried and true, everybody knows Everclear. But I was surprised that there's like literally like at Total Wine, there's like 6 or 7 different brands of grain alcohol. Like they're very proud of distilling grain alcohol, which I thought was kind of interesting because there's zero taste. There's zero depth to it. It's just literally alcohol from grain and a lot of it. So that's interesting. But
yeah, and it's pretty much like isopropyl alcohol. I mean, that's what it smells like.
Essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore shit. But we are drinking a big titty orgy today. So interesting drink. It's an ounce of Everclear, an ounce of vodka, an ounce of strawberry liqueur, top off with orange juice in a high glass, and shake. So that's it. There's no magic to this. Now, having said that, the taste is you can taste the grain alcohol. For 100%. Sure. There's no just getting rid of that. But even though that's there, it's a pretty good drink. I like the strawberry mixing in with the orange, gives it that strawberry orange juice kind of flavor, like we're drinking a Snapple or something.
Yeah. And it looks like an orange creamsicle. Straight up.
One more time. Look at that. Look at that.
Beautiful.
That's
I will tell you, though, I'm being careful with it. I'm taking sips. I'm not chugging this one. I actually want to moderate myself and be able to check the pulse after each drink, make sure I don't get too sloppy too quick. And honestly, maybe I'm just being a pussy. Maybe I just need to relax a little bit here. But I'll be honest, man. I haven't had grain alcohol in a beverage, I want to say, since high school.
Man, I can't. The last time I had grain alcohol, I'm pretty sure it came out of an ice chest full of jungle juice.
Yes, an old school like igloo cooler filled up with a bunch of like random chunks of fruit and fruit juice. And yeah, I believe there was like a fifth of Everclear and like a fifth of vodka in there. And I want to say I was at a buddy's house in Edgewood partying back in high school. And I don't think there's any reason really to be drinking Everclear unless that's the case, to be honest with you.
And when you thumb through the bartender's book, you do see the drinks every now and then. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Huh, it has Everclear. I wonder what that tastes like. We'll be able to know now. There are a few dozen drinks in there that have Everclear in it. Just same as Bacardi 151, which is actually more popular. But it's nice to have it in the bar so that you're not limited, right? No. If you want to go down that route.
Look, Bob, here's the deal. We want to sit here and puff our chests and say that we got full working bars at the house. You do not have that until you have something like Everclear in the bar. I mean, you just need it, bro. We got the complete package back there now. We were talking about it the other day too. We've got grain alcohol. We've got overproofed rum, which is another name for 151, and we also got absinthe in there too. So we got some pretty unique shit, and I'm pretty sure now with the strawberry liqueur too that I had to buy. You have the same one from France. Couldn't find it in De Kuipers.
Like Drawlards.
Yeah, even though De Kuipers makes it, they don't sell it at Total Wine or the two other liquor stores that I went to find the goddamn shit. But that's okay. Whatever. I'll spend $15 for a mixer. But with the addition of that, with all of the, we'll say, fruity type liqueurs too, I'm pretty sure I can just. I would like somebody to throw something at me, like, "Hey, make this drink out of the bartender book." I'd be hard pressed not to be able to at least come up with it about 75-85% accuracy.
Yeah, the only thing that right now would expand on our bars are the exotic vodkas, like the citrus, mango, orange, all the different flavors. If you go Smirnoff, like cherry, vanilla, cinnamon, like whatever, crazy vodkas. There's those, and also the different flavors of rum, just in general. We do have most of the schnapps. We do have, most flavors of liqueurs. We're getting up there, dude. I would say there's probably a good 30 to 40 bottles of booze and liqueurs in my bar at this point, if just to get it at the top of my head.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what's great is when you say, "Hey, what do you got for rum over there in the bar?" Well, I've got light rum, I've got spiced rum, I've got mango rum. That's not bad. I got Caribbean, coconut rum,
yeah, dark rum.
I have Bermuda black rum. So I literally have 5 or 6 rums back there, which is pretty fucking cool. Now you're right on the vodka. I literally have one vodka, and that's just the handle of Costco 5-time distilled, which is goddamn good shit. Again, can't stop plugging Costco enough. Best handle for $12.99 in the business, if you ask me. So, but yeah, that's all I got there.
It's the only handle that's drinkable for $12.99.
True.
When you start getting into the brands that are also around that price range, you don't want to drink that shit.
And it's usually for a fifth, not double that. Right. So there is that as well. Now, I'll say this though too. I don't know how often I would be busting out a big titty orgy for guests. I'm just saying it might be a little too, I wouldn't say exotic or anything like that. I would say dare I say that this drink may be a little too stiff for a casual gathering. You're like, "Hey, guys, before you guys take off and drive home with your kid in the car, why don't you go ahead and have one of these real quick?"
Right.
Are you feeling dangerous? You want to live a little, buddy? So I don't know how much I'm busting that out, but what about you? Is this a casual one for you? Or are you kind of reserving this for your hardcore celebrations and get downs?
I think it could be a casual drink, but it's all about how you deliver it, right? So instead of one drink, if you split that one drink into 2 small drinks, then that's probably a better casual drink, just a half version of this. Mm-hmm. So that it's lower risk, because if someone doesn't drink very much, you don't want to be throwing Everclear at them in any capacity. No. Really.
So, congratulations, you haven't haven't had a drop of booze in a decade, huh? Cool, let me mix up one of these for you. All of a sudden he's got hookers and blow in the other room. Things are just going downhill. It's a slippery slope, you know what I mean? So be careful out there, kids.
And like, for instance, taking a shot of Everclear with how potent it is similar to taking 2 like Yukon Jack 100 proof shots, just like real quick, just bam, 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 right?
That's like permafrost, isn't it? The Yukon Jack, like
it's a lot. That's a lot to handle. I can start off my night taking a couple shots or getting like a 3-finger glass of scotch and put it down fairly quickly and be okay. I'm also a big guy with I do drink, so
yeah, with a little bit of an alcohol problem,
a little bit of a tolerance, right? But to throw something with an ounce of Everclear for someone that doesn't drink, or if they're really small, like you have a 100-pound chick or something over, sorry, not to be sexist, 100-pound person, just most of those are female.
Not to be sexist, but a small Asian boy. Not to be racist.
I mean, if you want to throw it over a 100-pound female, or like a 12-year-old boy, maybe a little too much.
Both of those kinds of individuals could potentially be at Bob's house partying with some cocktails. I'm just saying, it depends on what night it is and what we're celebrating. But I digress.
That's not funny.
Woo! Come on, Bob. It's pretty funny.
It's a little funny. It's no funnier than Bill Cosby.
Well, yeah. Well, geez, I don't know if I'd want to have Everclear with his cocktails. You know what I mean? That might put me over the top, stop my heart. That's never good.
You can't take Everclear with all the downers.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's what I'm saying. That's dangerous. I don't even think he would advise that. Bill, he's a good guy. He's got more character than that. Oh my goodness, what a week. I'll tell you what, man. We haven't even just trickled it in there a little bit, kind of dangled the carrot a little bit, but we've got some really fun stuff to talk about today. Just a lot to talk about. I won't say all of it's going to be extremely fun, but I do want to start off here with something I just thought was hysterical. And I'll tell you what, I don't really know if there's a timestamp on this bad boy, like when this happened. And I'm speaking of the article I sent you about this poor, unfortunate, all they say is quote unquote older man that really got the wool pulled over him and a nasty surprise that I don't think any older man would rightfully want to have.
Now, how old are we talking here?
Well, it just says older man. I will say this. It says the woman in this story is 38 years old. So if we're using that as a frame of reference, he could probably be in his 50s. We'll just say,
I was maybe say 50, 60, somewhere in that range.
Yes, we'll just call him in that range, the 50s. We'll call him the AARP kind of guy, right? That we're right around there, the silver fox, so to speak. But what happened here, this took place somewhere in the UK. But there was and I don't know how this went down or like how the geography worked out, because it seems a little bit odd. Anyways, you got a 38-year-old female here, Marie Lee Mart, I believe. She gets super, super drunk. And that's totally fine. People have a lot of cocktails. We do it often. It's casual. But she mistakenly somehow, and this is where it gets a little bit strange for me, she wanders into, and this is, I don't know if it's a flat or like an apartment complex, because she wandered into an older man's room. The older man has a wife, but they sleep in separate bedrooms because he's a horrible snorer, right? He just snores all the time. She can't handle it. So she somehow again stumbles into this room at night, drunk as piss, and proceeds to start blowing this guy, performing oral sex on him. And what appears to be in the article also just trying to rape him, but just not having the energy or the sobriety, like in her, just.
So she's an ineffective rapist.
She's an inebriated rapist.
Gotcha.
Not quite really there. She doesn't quite have her faculties together enough to get the full-on rapage done. But this gentleman, again, just a poor soul. I mean, I feel so bad for this guy. It's ridiculous, but he's sleeping. He's a dead sleep. He's just loving it. He's sawing logs. He's in REM sleep right here, baby. And he starts getting ahead, right? He's enjoying himself, having the pleasure of oral sex by this random scary woman who's trying to rape him, very sloppily trying to rape him. He comes to, which most people do when they start getting head while they're sleeping. And he initially thinks it's his wife, because apparently this maybe is a common thing that his wife kind of likes to come in, a little surprise for him, just give him a little beach here and there since they sleep in separate rooms. This is the least she can do. I mean, the man snores so bad, you know what I mean? I don't know when the last time he actually had company in his bed. Comes to, freaks out, and this is what I think is really funny. The first thing he does is he goes and tells his wife. Can you imagine this conversation? Like the actual dialogue and language, the words that are used in this.
Hold on. Let's try to pin this down. What are you doing? Get up. Oh my God. You're not Ethel. Oh no. And then he goes over there. Honey. Some woman's in there sucking my, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, starts going crazy. Well, of course, here's what happens. Of course, the wife right away, she phones the police, like anybody would rightfully do when some
there's a sexual assault that just happened. Allegedly.
Yeah, this is scary stuff going on here. Now, Marie, this is the sucker, the we'll just say again, the sloppy rapist. She is very belligerent, and she threatens to punch the wife Ethel, as you most probably correctly named her. Wants to punch her teeth out and basically starts verbally assaulting the wife and getting a little bit kind of pushy there. So she's sexually assaulting this poor older man by beating him up. And then when the I guess the police and like an emergency type personnel came over. She assaults the emergency employer or employee. I don't think I don't know. Why would you bring the paramedics there? I'm not quite sure, but maybe it's a paramedic or something of that nature. But the other thing too, she's in jail now. She's in jail. She's behind bars. And the judge kind of threw the book at her in the sense of, hey, leveling the playing field here. This is just as serious. Quit snickering in the back of the court. Stop that. Stop that. This is serious. Okay. But he said this is just as serious as male on female sexual assault. So kind of just, again, leveling the playing field, equal justice here. She's in jail for a long time while she can think about this. Her lawyer, which I thought was like the best possible defense you could come up with in this scenario, he just blamed it on the alcohol and also said she has zero memory of the entire allegation. So she doesn't remember giving him a beach. She doesn't remember threatening his wife. She doesn't remember like punching the paramedic or whoever it was, which is convenient, and said, hey, look, she was just very, very drunk. She's not this type of person. She's not an aggressor. She's not a predator. And it didn't really work out in her favor. She still had to go to jail. But again, I don't know if this was clickbait or not, but this definitely got me to click on the article when I read this. And of course I chuckled very much so, because again, do you really feel sorry for this guy? Is this the worst possible thing that could happen to him in his twilight years? You know what I mean? Come on, guy. Good story though.
Yeah. You bring a good point. I mean, we have a lot of fun with this, but in the end, this would have probably been international news had she have been a man.
Well, could you imagine how horrific it would sound? It probably would turn your stomach a little bit if you think like this creepy guy with a big, nasty, crusty beard with old stale food.
All drunk with vomit on his shirt. It's like,
yeah,
I woke this woman up with his tongue up her snatch. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been a fucking different article altogether.
All of a sudden, it's not so cute anymore.
Right. And you know, can we just like unpack the inner monologue that goes on in this old man's head real quick?
Oh my God, please.
Because
do.
it's like, oh, that's so good. It's like that tonight, honey. Oh, okay, okay. And then he like grabs the top of her head or something like that, and he's just like, huh, I don't think this is my wife. This is my wife. Oh no, this girl's like, you know, this girl's fit. Yeah. And like young. Oh shit. Wait a minute. Ethics. Do you just bust a load and then freak out?
You know, yeah, I can imagine him going back and forth and to say, it's like, well, it's not polite to like force a hard stop here. I should let her finish so I can let her know how she did too, how to improve on the next round. And you know,
right. I don't want to embarrass this girl. I don't want to.
She's kind of put herself out there. She's very vulnerable right now. I can't take advantage of that. But yeah, I can see the inner dialogue too. He's like, oh, that's Ethel. That's not. Wow, Ethel never uses her tongue like that and does that little swirly thing. That's interesting. Where she picked that up? Maybe she's reading Penthouse Forum again. I don't know. Wait a minute, my wife's balding. Well, this is a full head of hair.
Right. This girl's like 30 pounds less than my wife. What the fuck's going on here? And then it's like, wait a minute. Am I the dick if I make her stop?
Yeah. Why is she trying to pin me down? What's going on here? I don't like
be
this.
Rude here. She went out of her way.
But it is in all seriousness. We could probably talk about this the entire show and just highlight and emphasize how serious this is going both ways. But again, this older gentleman here, I think I think he had a nice little treat here, something to talk about, something to give him a little spark in his older age. You know what I mean? I bet you he had a pep in his step for at least a solid week after this horrible incident, we'll just say.
He'll never hear the end of it. Right? It's like, honey, I'm gonna go get some bread and coffee from the store. That's great, honey. Try not to get your dick sucked on the way, okay?
Right.
Oh, you brought me back some dinner. Cool. Did the waitress suck your dick? Just like nonstop now for eternity. This is gonna be his fault.
Well, you got to think about this too. She's also extremely annoyed with the new scenarios for his role playing with her too. He's like, honey, wake up. You're not really sleeping, and stop pushing my head down there. This is not funny anymore. It's like, come on. Okay. She's okay. Here's something new tonight. Okay. I'm going to act like I'm dead asleep. Right. And you're just going to put your head underneath the blanket and start blowing me. Huh? It's like, this is not original at all. Okay. Like seriously, yeah, she's going to get annoyed with it, but well, either way, again, I don't even know when this happened. This could happen 25, 30 years ago. It could happen last week. I'm not quite sure, but again, cheers to all those mystery blowers out there. You're a noble bunch out there that are willing to put yourselves out there, and I'm going to have a big titty orgy drink to you.
Yes, we can't salute you enough to the 2 a.m. belligerent blowers. Thank you for your services.
Yeah. Well, and you know how it's so typical of the woman too. You know what I mean? She's blowing him, right? And then you bust her and call the cops. Then she gets mad at you, and you're the bad guy now. Come on.
I can't believe you're in here telling me to get off your husband. I'm trying to suck this guy's dick, and you're trying to throw me in jail. I'm doing you a favor. I'm like a stand-in. I'm like a substitute, right?
That's one hell of a martyr there, if you ask me, man. But well, that was the one definitely the definite lighthearted element of the show here. We gotta chat about what's going on here in Ukraine and Russia here, buddy. I mean, this again, if I could say I'm thankful for anything, at least we're not talking about COVID really at all right now. Have you noticed that? I'm going to just say that's the silver lining is that we're getting a break. It's a fucking shame that it has to be like humanitarian, crimes against humanity borderline. I mean, you could kind of split hairs there, and all out war, potential of nuclear war that gets us away from COVID. But we are nonetheless. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I get the opportunity, I do flip on the television and I want to see what the fuck is going on. How things are progressing.
I'm constantly on it. In fact, I've been catching a lot of my shit on BBC just because, and to like Fox and MSNBC and CNN's credit, they're all toting the line of patriotism and standing behind Ukraine pretty equally for the most part. There's a couple hosts here and there that politicize this, but for the most part, the news agencies are pretty much sticking to the facts, sticking to what's happening, sticking to the humanitarian efforts, sticking to the let's avoid fucking World War III effort. So to everyone's credit there, they actually are covering this. And then to the Senate's credit, our Congress is actually facing a existential crisis. Right. Yeah. And they're actually working together and they're doing what they're supposed to do, which tells me that all the problems, quote, that we've had in the last couple of few years have been real first world problems. Right.
Theater. You know what I mean? Right. A bunch of drama for the sake of drama. Yeah. And it is not interesting. It's convenient. And it really gives me a much better perspective of what really is going on when there's just much more bigger fish to fry, so to speak, and all of a sudden everybody's cohesive. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
And the way that it should be, and the way that we've even talked, well, they'd work together if it was important, right? Yeah, it's just not important. And we've even talked about that exact thing on this show just a few weeks ago. But Lindsey Graham was giving an interview the other day, and he's actually kind of a hardliner, like fuck Putin, like straight up, more than most.
This is true. Yeah.
So his temperament as president might be a little cavalier if he was ever elected president.
Well, we might be in World War III already. If he was
because apparently he doesn't fuck around. So a question was asked to Nancy Pelosi, right? Should we stop buying Russian oil?
And wait, hold on. Which side of her mouth was winning the hockey match here or the ping pong tournament here when this was happening?
The fix-it was holding, so it seemed to be pretty even. It was early in the day.
God damn it, Nancy. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So a question was asked if we should stop buying Russian oil, and she said yes, stop it, 100%. A little context in that. The U.S. buys 7% of our oil comes from Russia. So if we stop buying Russian oil, you can expect gas prices to increase. I'm sure we're all willing to pay, a little bit more to fuck Russia right now. But that's easy to say for the middle class, right? That's easy to say for someone that has enough gas money until their next check. For those that are going to have to suffer through this, it's going to be the poor, and it's going to be the lower middle class and working class and poor people that's going to have to really bear down on this. So it's easy for middle class and rich people to say, yeah, stop buying oil. So anyway, that's the context. 7% of our oil is Russian. And so thus far, we haven't done it because Biden, the price is already crazy. The inflation, the fucking supply chain, gas prices suck right now already.
Over $5 averages in California right now.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to add to that, right? Buying a gallon of gas shouldn't be the same as smoking, right? Developing some smoking habit. So the question was asked, and she's like, "Yeah, no, we should 100% stop buying oil." And then Lindsey Graham was asked the same question. Nancy Pelosi said, "We should stop buying oil. What do you think?" And he said, "I think she's right." And he's like, and me answering in that way makes me wonder if I'm right.
Because... oh wow, I love that. Hey, taking a stab at Pelosi, when you're agreeing with her. Yeah, kudos. Good job, Lindsey.
And then a little joke. He said, Putin has managed to do something that no one else in America could do for the last half a decade. And that is get me and Nancy Pelosi to agree on something.
Oh, listen to this guy. He's just the center of the universe, isn't he? He's like, Putin is getting me to agree with Nancy. Yeah, well.
Now, Lindsey Graham wants to like stop that. Lindsey Graham is for, putting boots in the ground. Like Lindsey Graham is like 100% in. Let's just annex Ukraine into NATO now and just fucking wreck Russia, right? At the cost of potential nuclear war. Yeah. Maybe that's a little strong. And I understand that, tens of thousands of Ukrainians potentially as of already have died, and we don't know because they don't have any accurate body counts because they're getting shelled from above.
Yeah.
Right? So it's tough to say.
Well, it's interesting what's going on over there right now too, because it's hard, like you were just saying, it is still hard to decipher what's really happening. Like, how far are things going? Are some of these social media posts that they're trying to verify on CNN like 100% valid? Is what BBC is saying? I mean, everybody's got a little motivation to kind of spin it a certain way, and I just don't know how accurate it is on a whole, which is a little alarming to me. It's hard when things are when there's this much shit on the line. That frustrates me and it makes me a little bit anxious. But there's definitely Russia's doing everything they can to make sure their narrative is the only narrative in Russia and Ukraine. So that's interesting too. I mean, they literally, I think they just passed, like the Russian parliament just passed a law, something about media again, like real recently, right?
15 years in prison for misinformation.
Yeah. Like literally, you say anything that's not our narrative, you're fucking toast. Like if you could be any more, just severe here with anybody getting inside of what's really going on here and poking holes and what they're trying to spin over there. But that's alarming too, because why would they be doing that if it's not just all out crazy evil shit that's going on there? But the narrative, of course, too. What Putin and his, can't remember the guy's name, but his minister of propaganda, essentially is what they're tagging this guy, is essentially still standing by that. Hey, they're really just trying to help the Ukrainian people, and they're trying to flush out the faction of neo-Nazis. And Zelensky is not a neo-Nazi himself, but he's a sympathizer of the neo-Nazis, and he needs to be overthrown. They're calling for the Iranian people to overthrow the government and help Vladimir Putin install his puppet politicians there, so we can actually get just the area cleansed of horrible neo-Nazis, which again,
democracy.
Of course, yeah, you can't have that. And then Putin not in control of all the natural gas and commerce lines and trade routes and everything like that he rightfully deserves, right? And
it has nothing to do with Shell and what's that other company they brought in to pump
ExxonMobil.
Exxon and Shell coming in to build infrastructure, billions of dollars of infrastructure to export their natural gas and oil reserves and become the second largest producer to sell those natural resources to Europe, being Russia number one and being their primary fucking oil and natural gas rival. Has nothing to do with that.
And I see the understanding here for the stalemate on both ends of the table here. I mean, outside of the US and China, right? Russia is the top leading nuclear power outside of those two countries. You don't necessarily want to push somebody that already seems like they've lost their marbles a little bit and it's not acting rationally. So anything, we even no-fly zones, even enacting no-fly zones is potentially going to put U.S. crafts and allied crafts in way of the Russians and their aircrafts. And we're potentially going to kick this off with a little, fiasco in the air, just over airspace. So even that's something that, like, again, if this was a chess game here, you got your hands, got your hand over the fucking switch and the buttons for the nuclear weapons. You got the, all deploying fucking foot soldiers and just all the shit that could happen. But smartly, I think, and rationally, everybody's just kind of pumping the brakes a little bit there. But while this is happening, like, when is he going to stop? When is it too much? When is it finally beyond the line where we as the world, not just America, but the world in general says, okay, this guy's got to be stopped. So it's interesting because if you talk to some people, that time has already passed. What we're doing right now is just delaying the inevitable and making it worse for the Ukrainian people and potentially making it worse for everybody in Europe, financially, and just humanitarianly. But on the other end of the table, we don't want to start the domino effect of pressing the nuclear buttons. I mean, literally, we all could press them. And what's that going to do? Blow up half the world? You know what I mean? Like this doesn't
no
end
one
well.
wants to, no one wants to press the button, right? Everyone knows what that means.
Well,
right?
Hold on. Maybe Trump might want to just try it out for funsies, but that's just.
I did hear he got like Kentucky Fried Chicken grease on the launch codes once. Well, just a random story I thought was funny, but he's like, hold on. Let me see these. They're like, come on, guy. Those have been there for like 20 years.
I got to clean these off.
So interesting thing about that is it's tough. And you're right. Reading the cards with an autocrat that's in control like this, and he doesn't give a fuck what his people say because they have no power. Until the Russian people flood the streets with millions of them in every major city and straight up overthrow their government and oust Putin himself. Yeah. They don't have a choice. If it's just thousands coming out, and then they're just going to get arrested and they're going to make noise, but they're not going to actually do anything. You've got the Alexei Navalny, right? He's the guy that ran against Putin in the last election. He was polling really well and doing really well. So Putin fucking, of course, named him an enemy of the state and fucking tried to poison him. He in a failed assassination attempt from the KGB. And now he's imprisoned in a fucking Russian prison for several years so that he can't, be a politician and run against Putin and overthrow his, essentially at this point, I hate to say it, but a regime.
Yeah.
Right. Because they say they're a democracy, but if you're rigging all the elections, then that's just all paper money there. You're just fucking whatever. So interesting thing about that is that Putin's a little bit off his rocker right now. Right. And I don't know if it's old age. I don't know if they don't know there's a cure for syphilis. I don't know like kind of where that's at. But he's definitely not acting rationally, and he's giving a big middle finger to everyone.
Middle finger.
and on that note, is it because he knows that G will eventually back him up? Is that what it's going to come to at some point? So yes, Ukraine is asking for a no-fly zone, right, from NATO. The problem is they're not a NATO country. They're not a NATO member. Right. So we can't just offer them a no-fly zone. If we bring our jets over there and a Russian jet comes over and breaks no-fly zone and we shoot that Russian jet down, we have now entered the war.
Yeah.
Seriously. Right now, I would say that from Putin's rhetoric, we may have already entered the war. He gave an interview yesterday that said the sanctions are an act of aggression to Russia, and sanctions would be considered an act of war, right?
Well, I mean, let's face it. Even though they're not like military violent acts, it's essentially the analogy pretty much of somebody like hitting you with rubber bullets. You know what I mean? You're still firing them at the gun. They might not be fucking killing you instantly or whatever, but you're still doing a lot of damage, or at least
the world has North Korea, them, Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
They're on an island right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I was just looking it up too. I mean, the guy's 69 years old. He's born in 1952. Yep. So I wouldn't really say
which is like 50 years younger than Nancy Pelosi, but about the same age as her dentures.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm an idiot.
Jesus Christ.
But
But
Bob
seriously,
some Everclear before the show.
but seriously though, the guy's not that old. I mean, all of our presidential candidates for the past couple of elections have been older than this guy.
You know, to put that in perspective, that's like 10 years younger than Biden, and like,
yeah,
you know,
essentially
7 years or something younger than Trump.
Yeah.
Still old, but yeah, by leadership standards, you know, still fairly reasonably aged to make cognitive decisions, unless, you know, early dementia has hit him or something.
And I was just going to say, with that being said, you don't have to be old to lose your fucking shit and start acting like a madman, crazy person. And I think that's what everybody's nervous about. I was watching the news, I think it was the other day, or maybe it was even this morning, I don't remember, but that they were saying that people very close to Putin, meaning allies that have done business with him over the past 20 years, have said he's not acting right. You know what I mean? The guy is not acting rationally. And that just makes it that much more intense of a decision to really move forward with anything concrete, because like you were saying, we've kind of already put it out there that we want to start some shit, that we're in the game right now. But I think he's kind of potentially looking for a little bit more before he has the justification for all out war against us. And that means a lot of trouble.
So here's a couple of things. He may be already considering these sanctions an act of war, because what is an act of war? It's whatever the fuck you think it is, right?
Exactly.
It's whatever you justify doing whatever you're going to do. He considered Ukrainians fucking fighting Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine an act of war, and then he tried to spin it to invade this nation and take over everything, including all of their, you know, trillions of dollars of fucking natural resources. Interesting thing though, we may be in this war already. I have a feeling that we're going to be fighting Russians at some point, whether it's in Ukraine or not. And I hate to say that, I just don't think he's rational, and I think that eventually, to save his own skin and not have his country overthrow, he's going to start spinning it and getting more aggressive with other countries and give us that it's us against the world, right? To try to rally his people behind him. I heard an interesting interview yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was, but there's a Ukrainian parliament member. Her name is Kira Rudik, right? And she was basically trying to explain the no-fly zone, right? And she said, no, we're asking for a no-fly zone, and yes, we can't give a no-fly zone because, again, if we attack Russians, and now we've entered the war, and no one wants the two number one and number two fucking nuclear superpowers going to war with each other.
No,
that's just bad for business for everyone. So let's try to keep the U.S. out of this as much as we can. The difficult part about that is that the U.S. is tied to NATO, which is basically every country west of Ukraine until you get to the Atlantic Ocean. So she said, we're asking for a no-fly zone to stop the Russian bombers and for NATO support to do that, because obviously because of the civilian casualties and their slash and burn kind of tactics that they're implementing on Ukraine right now, the Russians. And she says, I know and understand that they're saying that they don't want to be drawn into the war. But then she said something interesting, and it sounded very familiar to something that you would hear in the 30s or the 40s. And she said, NATO doesn't want to enter the war, but war is upon us all, whether you want to enter it now or later. She said, once Putin is done with Ukraine, he will move east towards Poland and the Baltic states, and he won't stop until he captures all of the USSR former glory. And that was interesting because and very well may be true, right? And that's what you were talking about with the politics and the trying to step carefully. And we may very well be just buying time, and it doesn't matter. And we've seen this before when Germany first invaded Poland and everyone wanted to stay out of it. Well, it's just Poland, but no more. Okay. No more,
guys. Right? It's just the Polish. No need to be alarmed. Okay. Nothing serious is going on yet. I know it sounds eerily similar when you start talking about after we're done here, then we're moving into Poland. You're like, hey, I've heard this before. This is a strange story. And you know what, just to highlight something that is unprecedented in the sense that even Switzerland now has dropped their neutrality. Their longstanding just stance of being neutral through everything, they have also enacted heavy sanctions against Russia right now, which I think that's worth noting too. You know what I mean? As you're saying that we may already be in war. War may be at our doorstep right now. We're just not answering the door. I mean, even Switzerland is taking stances here, which is again something they never do. So,
Yeah,
what do we do?
Finland, Hungary, and there's another state, country, state, nation state that's going to supply them Ukrainians with fighter jets. Like they're on their way. So dozens of fighter jets are coming to help, because they are actually the same jets that the Ukrainian Air Force uses. So there's no training that's needed. They take them the jets and they get out of there, and that's that. And I don't believe that we can give them jets, because I just don't know if they have any pilots that can actually fly them. Right. And I'm sure like pilots can fly planes, whatever. But there's a lot to something that's like $22 million to just flying this piece of equipment. It's not just like Ace Combat, right? so I don't know what that status is, or if there's anything that we can do to help. But I do know that we just sent a bunch of Stingers over there like yesterday, and a bunch more Javelins. There's tens of thousands of foreign soldiers have now signed up and enlisted in the Ukrainian army to help, which is kind of unheard of, right? I've even read stories of American veterans that have gone over there to go fight because it's just not right what's happening over there, and that's happening across the board. I saw a story about this UK guy. He was just like this fit guy that knew how to handle weapons. He didn't have military training, but he wanted to go help. So he went over there and enlisted in their fucking army. And right now that's looking like a kind of a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
It's not looking great. It seems like this is going to turn into like an insurgency to where Russia finally does win with all the shelling. And then you're going to have Ukrainian ambush attacks coming, similar to Afghanistan, when they went into Afghanistan in the 80s.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. I mean, literally people in other countries volunteering to go fight as basically Ukrainian soldiers right now. That's interesting. Crazy fucking times that we're living in, man. And yeah, I don't know where this takes us. Honestly, this could potentially, if I was going to put on my Bobby Sunshine and Rainbows hat for just a minute here, this could potentially fizzle out. You know what I mean? It could potentially fizzle out. Like they could actually call a truce, ceasefire, actually adhere to it, maybe take a little bit more. We'll let them get away with it or whatever, kind of have just things, fizzle out. That's to me the happy ending here. The other is probably the more likely, is that this is just going to continue to snowball into something that's going to eventually get every major player in the world involved. And then where do we go?
Because how long until there's a Russian jet or something that attacks a NATO airship on the border of Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And how long until that happens and sucks us into the war? That's all you really need for that to be our Lusitania, right? Mm-hmm. We don't need a whole lot. We're already there. There's troops everywhere. We have like tens of thousands of troops already in NATO nations bordering Ukraine. And I'm sure there's a lot more logistics and weaponry and deployments and things that are going on over there coming from the US that are not making the news. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, it's again, crazy time that we're in right now. I honestly, if you would have asked me, I probably would have joked about it here. But if you would have said, hey, what's going to be going on, Scott, after the pandemic finally cools down a little bit, maybe we're past that, baby. I would not probably have on my bingo card nuclear war or World War III, but here we are. Very real potential that could be down the pike a little bit. You know what? I'm just glad I'm not of age where they can draft me anymore. You know what I mean? I don't even have to go to Canada now. Now we might have to send your kid to Canada, but that's okay. We can do that. We can get it done.
Yeah, no, he's coming up on that time. I don't think we would see a draft simply because of how effective our tactics and weaponry has become, and the personnel that we have. I don't think we'd need millions of soldiers like we did back in the day.
Yeah, I think the technology bodes that we don't really need as much manpower anymore to be effective. That's for sure. But still, at the end of the day, that was just a dramatic example of where we could potentially be here in the very near term.
No, we could be at war.
Yeah,
and just straight up. And within the next month, Like anytime within the next days, weeks, at any time, we could be at war with Russia.
Give us a reason, and vice versa too. I think everybody's like just like itching, but not really. But again, the trigger can be pulled on each side of the table here. If we're given a reason for public outcry from our end, or vice versa, I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this too. I was talking to Jamie about it. It's like it seemed, and again, I know I'm being ignorant here, but it seemed like Putin was doing what he could to try to look respected on the world stage. You know what I mean? In years past, like he was giving a half-assed effort. I really don't see, and this is kind of, I guess, where people are like, yeah, the guy's lost his shit. He's not making rational decisions, because what is really the long-term plan here for him? You know what I mean? I mean, literally, where is his reputation on the world stage going to be right now? And fast forward a couple of years, if this keeps going in the same direction. It was interesting to me. I was thinking, I was like, what? I mean, obviously we have the natural gas, commerce, trade routes, all this stuff that makes you more money. But what do you do with that money if you literally are like North Korea moving forward too, right? So it boggles my mind where this guy's motivation lies and what the end game really is. Yeah, I want Mother Russia back. I want United Russia. Then what? Then what are you going to do? You're literally going to commit crimes against humanity to get there. And you're thinking, I think everybody else is going to be okay with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand where he sees a happy ending. And that scares me, because maybe he just doesn't give a fuck. And that kind of, you know what I mean?
I was wondering the same thing, because he's 69. So he's in the last decade or so of his life, right? On average, right? He's approaching the average lifespan of a male, right? And I think that he's definitely dialed it up and ramped up some timelines. And I think he was hoping that he could get all this done and Trump was going to get reelected. Is really what I hoped, what I think he was wanting, and see if the U.S. could exit NATO. So then he'd have an easier opportunity. I don't think he planned on the U.S. staying in NATO, because Trump was big on leaving NATO. He said it a bunch, right? So I think that was kind of some of his plans. And because I don't think that deploying 200,000 troops and all the fucking military equipment to invade a country is something that he just decided to do in the last year since Biden got elected. I think this is something he's been planning for years.
But what's interesting is like everything changes. We stay in NATO. Trump doesn't get a second term. He doesn't alter his plans at all. He's just like, fucking stay the course. Just stay the fucking course. Everything's a shit show now, but just don't look over there. Stay the course. Like, what are we doing here? He doesn't have
time. He's out of time, right? Yeah. He makes the move now, or he doesn't make the move. And I think how he's remembered and his legacy, I think, is more important to him and his ego than anything else.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking about too, boy, I'll tell you what, we get into like a World War III type of scenario here. It puts all the much more importance on the decisions made by China. You know what I mean? Yeah. They could literally snuff this out and do the right thing, so to speak, or they can use this as a collaboration with Russia. And then we really got some serious problems. Then we could literally be fighting to the death, like metaphorically and literally, you know what I mean? So like the entire world, I could see that being just such a substantial position in the world if this goes to shit. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing I was thinking about here. And they're taking notes right now, looking at what they're doing to Ukraine with, hey, we want to do very similar things to Taiwan right now. Right. So like kind of seeing like, let's see how the world actually plays this out. Let's see when or if they even stop Russia, or if they literally just snowball over Iran and do whatever the fuck they want. Cause that's kind of like their playbook now for, okay, page 2 of this is for us to go ahead and do this and take back. It's the same kind of thing. It's almost like the same kind of thing going on here. So
yeah, because Ukraine, the USSR broke up like 30 years ago. When did Taiwan leave China control? Like 50 years ago?
I won't even 70s? Act like I know. Yeah, I just know that
70s.
I just know it used to be united. I don't think it's ever really been the same culturally. I think they definitely are their own 52. Goddamn people. Yeah. But no, that's interesting too. So it's I can't tell. And again, that's China's another country too. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. I don't know what the Communist Party of China has planned. I don't know if they ever are going to plan to do anything that's good for the world, or they just have this kind of world domination complex too, like Russia. So that's another thing where I think at this point, obviously, all eyes are on Russia. But again, everything goes to shit. And I think everything it needs to focus on to how can we prevent China from making them stronger at the end of the day? So,
yeah, it looks like basically Taiwan has been fighting, like Japan and China have gone back and forth with Taiwan, and then it was successfully freed from Japan in 1952, post World War II, and I guess China has wanted it back ever since then. So, but still, man, that was like 70 years ago. Like, that's a long time ago.
I need to give it up. You know what I mean?
But you're right with the taking notes. I mean, the situation isn't dissimilar. They're looking at it. They're looking at a country a sovereign nation that they want to control and take over. And it probably has nothing to do with the fact that Taiwan is the largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world.
Nothing at all. The future of just how we do business is sitting in Taiwan, and that's not even on China's mind. You know what I mean?
I'm sure not. No, it's all about culture.
Yeah. They need to free the Taiwanese people. You know what I mean?
Neo-Nazis.
From themselves.
They know this.
Jesus Christ. I can't even say some of this shit and like keep a straight face. And it's crazy. Like, this is like the legitimate, like, official Russian narrative of what they're trying to blow up their fucking own people's ass about what they're doing in Ukraine. And it's not even believable, but it's interesting that they're like, hey, no, this is going to be, we're going to spin it this way. People are going to believe us, and we don't. It's okay. We're going to shut down any outside opinion or any outside sources. And, eventually, if you only hear one thing, you have to believe it. It becomes reality. So that's kind of their game plan, I think.
Well, yeah. Just like, the girlfriend I had in middle school from Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
I met her at a concert, man. Totally legit.
So I guess our next move, wisely, would be to send Nancy Pelosi over to Putin's bedroom, and she can blow him while he's sleeping. That'll get him. You know what I mean? That'll teach him a lesson.
She'll take those teeth out and throw down.
Hey, man. She's got a lot of practice, a lot of skills in that game, I would imagine. You see her play with her mouth right now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that might be our best bet here. We'll get Pelosi over to Russia as an espionage type secret agent and see what she can get done. You know what I mean? Well,
in all seriousness, it's going down over there, and if anyone's not paying attention, women and children are being killed, hospitals, schools are being bombed and targeted. It's terrible what's happening over there, and it's needless because it's not like this is a tension building war. Putin just decided, I want what you got, and I'm going to come take it because I don't think you can stop me. Right. And since they're not a NATO country, they don't really have much recourse. So, keep an eye on what's happening over there for the global, impact and the potential for, the U.S. entering the war, obviously, but also just keep your thoughts in mind with all the civilians over there and even the soldiers on both sides that are caught up in this bullshit. Both of these armies are, I would guess their average age is somewhere in their early 20s. None of them they don't know the USSR. They don't know former glory of Mother Russia. They were just told to go fight, and they're over there having to fight. Ukrainians are fighting for their lives, for their freedom, for their country to not be Russian, right? The Russians are over there fighting like their cousins in many cases, and they don't even understand why. Many of them were tricked as in going from a training exercise to all of a sudden this brutal fucking actual war. So it's just terrible what's happening over there. So I don't want to drone on with Ukraine anymore, but we will give more updates as things come. You have many other news sources to get it from, but just in case anyone's not paying attention as things pop up, I'm sure we'll be revisiting some of this.
Absolutely. And we got to talk about something a little bit brighter now. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, Bob, but the Batman is out. It's out, baby. Robert Pattinson's. No. I wouldn't imagine you have it. Just landed in theaters this last Friday, right? But I'll tell you what, I will have to admit right now, I was definitely one of the skeptics of Robert Pattinson playing Batman. Definitely right out of the gate. When I saw the casting, I was like, I don't know, the sparkly vampire guy, really? I just don't know.
I thought it was better than the Ben Affleck casting.
Yeah, well, you know,
that one was
there is
great.
that. I'm kind of comparing him though to the Dark Knight trilogy, Michael Keaton, so I don't know really we got to get George Clooney involved in this at all, but I mean there's been some great people that have played Batman, but from what I hear, I'm hearing fantastic reviews, Bob. Fantastic reviews. Apparently this is the Batman movie that we've always wanted and we just didn't know it. So I'm interested to see what's going on here. Colin Farrell playing Penguin too. Have you seen his suit?
I have. It's crazy.
Great looking makeup job that they did on that guy too. I mean, he's a good
you can't
looking
even
man
tell.
anyways, and they just make him look like Danny DeVito almost, you know what I mean? Like at least that ugly, which is pretty impressive. But I'm excited to see it. I'll tell you what, I out of seeing some of my nerdier comic book friends like jizzing in their pants right now about how amazing this movie is, it just definitely got me motivated to have an open heart here and see if it really stands up to all the hype, because there's definitely a lot of hype right now. Definitely a lot of hype.
You know who would have made the perfect Batman?
Who?
The Witcher.
Oh, what's his fucking name? Jeez, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. But he couldn't because he's already Superman. So it doesn't work with the Justice League, right? But he would have been the perfect cast for Batman had he not have already been Superman.
Now, think about it though. They could still make this work. He could just be like Tyler Perry or like Martin Lawrence and play both parts. Yeah, in one movie, it's all Henry Cavill is Superman and Batman and the Joker. It's like it's everybody. Oh, that would be fucking stupid.
But I was just thinking about that, about how perfect he would be. Perfect jawline, perfect depth of his voice, good actor, so good range, so he'd be able to play both parts, and there's no problems there. Physically, he fits the part, right? Because the last couple haven't even now. Like physically, like the last three Batmans haven't really been what a Batman would actually be, because let's be honest, he'd be a pretty buff dude, like have a lot of strength, right?
He would have to be. I mean, if you want to break down superheroes in like a logical reality based kind of rationale and everything, which I know is contrary in its whole statement there, but you're the only guy that doesn't have like a superpower. You probably need to be super fucking cut. You need to be buff as hell to be out there competing with people that actually have legit superpowers like Superman. You know what I mean? So there is that, because that's always kind of been, when you compare a lot of the superheroes, why like people have kind of joked around a little bit. And again, and all good fun, that Batman was like always pissed off. He can't fly, he can't do this or whatever. So, but with that being said, you can't come in there looking like somebody like Pattinson and be taken, I think, seriously. That's just what I'm saying.
Now, to his credit, he did bulk up quite a bit, and I hear he looked great. I saw a couple of images of his new self from his workout regime, and the same with Ben Affleck, whatever. But inherently, like they trained for a role, right? Where Henry Cavill just constantly trains for the last 15 years now, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's just kind of has become his lifestyle, because shit, he's always some sort of superhero or the Witcher or something amazing, right? So it's just a shame. That'd be great to see, but I haven't seen it. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see it. I want to see it in theaters, so hopefully I'll get to it. It sounds like good homework.
Really does. And I'm kind of thinking, I know it's still going to be in theaters when I'm down there in town, so maybe we go check it out. Huh? Maybe.
Little boys night.
Yeah, absolutely. And unless you go see it beforehand, I totally get it. I don't think I will. I don't think I'm going to be snagging a babysitter by that time, honestly. And just tell you what, little sidebar here, I'm going to see Hamilton, the musical, with Jamie next Saturday. That was one of her Christmas birthday presents I got her, so we're gonna go see that downtown. I can't stand fucking musicals either, so I'm definitely just doing this for Jamie. But Hamilton is pretty good. I don't know if you've seen it on Disney Plus. Pretty good show. Have you watched it?
I haven't yet, but I do think it's coming to Pope Joy because I was walking at school the other day and I walked by Pope Joy and I saw a big old fucking advertisement in every window with Hamilton. And I was just like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. I bet that's coming here.
That's probably a good sign that it is coming.
But, tickets are like $300 a piece. So,
dude, they're not. And this is off Broadway. That's what threw me off a little bit. I was like, go ahead and get them. Go ahead and get them, babe. And then, I looked at like my email receipt or what. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Are you kidding me? This is off Broadway. My goodness. This is a matinee show. Jesus Christ. That's okay. It's going to be fun. And it's new things for me. This is going to be the first time I've ever been to like a legit musical. I know I'm almost 40 years old. Never been to a musical. I haven't lived life, but here we are. I'm finally getting in there. So just to add to my little...
Is it all the original cast from the Broadway?
I don't believe so.
Lin-Manuel, or is there someone else?
I don't think so. I don't think it's them. I don't know though, but I'm just thinking it's not. I mean, if so, they'd probably be like an extra couple $100 per ticket is what I'm thinking. So I don't know though. We'll see. I will have a full report for everybody when I get done. So expect that. A big update here. Bob, do you have any drinks for next week to drop on what we're going to be doing on our next show? Or is it not as exciting as the Big Titty Orgy? Because let's face it, this is the first time I haven't finished the cocktail by the end of the show. I still have a little bit here.
Oh, I finished mine. It wasn't bad. As far as very stiff, but it wasn't like
the epitome of stiff, my friend.
Right. I mean, we had reason to have pause and have concern, but overall with the mixture and how it was all laid out in the drink, it was good. I wouldn't want to take shots of Everclear, but yeah, it was good.
Tune in next week, folks, where Bob gets silly as fuck. He's gonna take a
shot of Everclear and then try to speak. So I did want to talk about some other shows that I have seen. All right. One of them being The Mandalorian.
Oh, great show.
You just got a chance to watch that. I'm welcome to the club. Welcome aboard. Oh, I'm glad that Disney could suck you in like that. Suck you in, not like the guy in the UK that got sucked off.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused there for a minute. I want to apologize to everybody out there for being late to the game. I slept on Mandalorian. I mean, it came out in 2019. I just watched both the seasons and the first season of Boba Fett like a few weeks ago. Now, granted, I watched all of Mandalorian twice, both seasons within a month, and Boba Fett. I mean, I'm all in it to win it now, but I definitely slept on that shit for a long time. And I think the biggest thing here is I was looking at those memes with Baby Yoda in them for like 2 years. And I was like, yeah, he's cute. I just don't understand what the allure is all about. And then now I get it. I mean, shit, Elizabeth has a baby Grogu fucking sleeping in her bed right now. That's like her favorite stuffed animal type toy. It's not even a stuffed animal, like toy right now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, I was waiting for more. I'm
done.
The Mandalorian, it's fucking beautifully done, right? Just the show itself. I've played a lot of Star Wars games, and the Mandalorian. I was already familiar with this timeline and the story. I'm not a comic book guy, so sorry, nerds, but I did play the Star Wars game. I have familiarized myself with the Mandalorian wars in the timeline and the significance of that, and them like basically losing their planet. So I was already keen to that when the Mandalorian started, so I had a reference point. But I thought it was great. I could have done without him taking his helmet off in season 1. That didn't do anyone any favors, but I understand the importance of the storyline after season 2.
Yes.
So it had to be done.
And spoiler alert here. Yeah. If you don't have him take off the helmet, you can't really have the progression of season 2, because he has to get kicked out essentially of being a Mandalorian by again, removing the helmet.
Yeah,
so,
but after he took the helmet off, he definitely got that role for his acting and his voice.
Yeah. Yes.
Because he looked like a smacked ass when he took the helmet off.
And you know what, though? I know it wasn't a big part, and I know I argued with Jamie about it a little bit. He's just playing himself, but I think Bill Burr did a fantastic job in season 1. He was only in 2 episodes. I can't remember his name or whatever, but he was like the ex-Imperial snipe shooter or whatever. I thought he did a great job. Every time he was on the screen, big smile. And then it was like, was it episode 7 or 8 when he him and Mando really just took it to the Empire and blew up that whole power plant kind of thing or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but great shit. I love that. I love when you bring in comedians like that to do some really fun shit like that.
Well, and how about Rosario Dawson?
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah.
Great
Yeah.
Jedi, right?
Fantastic Jedi. And this is on a timeline that there's like almost no Jedis alive. So to have her as like one of the last ones standing, let's face it, her and Luke Skywalker are probably it. And the potential Grogu, but I don't think he's ever going to go there. I don't know. Because again, spoiler alert, he decides to go with the Mandalorian, at the end of the day when he already has the opportunity to learn the Jedi ways. So
he didn't want to pursue the Jedi life. He wanted to pursue his bromance with
Mando.
He
did. Yeah, dude. What a great show, though. I mean, and then here's how powerful the Mandalorian is, marketability wise too, and just how popular he's gotten. 2 seasons, they're fantastic. Can't wait for season 3. And then I'm like, Book of Boba Fett. Love Boba Fett. Let's face it. Without Boba Fett, there's no Mandalorian. I'm really going to get balls deep in this show. And they even needed to bring the Mandalorian into the season and intertwine him throughout the entire story to the end just to make it that much better. You know what I mean?
But by doing that, it really solidified both timelines for us.
It really
did. So it tied everything together so that we can for sure know that this is happening, right after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
This is when all of this shit goes down, which is a good thing to know, because you get into the Fallen Empire, whatever the last 3 episodes of the movie franchise, and that's like 60 years later. After that, everyone's super old, and the timeline really gets skewed. So now we've jumped back to the original timeline from the first 3 movies, and I think that's important to know where we're at with that timeline. I think that Disney's done a beautiful job with not even just carrying the torch, but with right-sizing Star Wars and getting it out of George Lucas's hands.
Expanding the universe, like literally, and bringing it to like all different types of age groups. You know what I mean? Like literally, we were talking about this. I mean, you can have people that watched the original movie, A New Hope, in 79 or whatever, that are still super pumped with what's going on now. And then you can also have our daughters roped into what's going on now and kind of backtrack and really visit the entire universe. And it's got them hooked. They did a fabulous job. And I will say this, I was probably one of the people, admittedly so, that was a little bit like, what the fuck, when Disney bought the Star Wars franchise. I was like, oh, God damn it. Okay, there goes the neighborhood kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking like stereotypical Disney movies, and it just didn't fit with my mind on where Star Wars needed to go or where they could take it. But I was proven wrong, and I feel great about it. I'm just going to tell you that.
Now, upcoming in May is the new Obi-Wan series.
Oh, God. And with Ewan McGregor in it too. Oh my God.
It's gonna be another fucking showstopper. And because a few months after that ends, the new season of Mando's coming out. It is.
Oh, dude.
And they're just gonna start staggering this to where it's just always something. They're gonna fill the timeline up all year long with Disney, and this is how their streaming is going to keep thriving like that. And same with Marvel.
Yeah. Well, this may be an unpopular opinion. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's not an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to go ahead and say I enjoy this timeline more than the 3 newest Star Wars movies. Like I like picking up the story right after Return of the Jedi and just packing it full of all kinds of great story and drama. I'm with it. I'm with it, man. I really like that. I could if there was a fork in the road, right? And it's like, what's his name? Adam Driver, Rilo. Is that his name?
Rilo Ken.
Do we want to go this way, or do I just want to keep hanging out with the bounty hunters? I'm going with the bounty hunters, bro, all day. I'm just telling you, man.
And I think there's so much opportunity for all 3 timelines, right? Because you go back to episode 1, and that's like 30 years before episode 4, right? And then episode 7 is 60 years after episode, 6. Right. So
yeah.
So then, before though, you have the whole Clone Wars and the Mandalorian Wars and all that stuff that goes down that you can play with, right? And then afterward, you still have plenty to expand upon in the First Order stuff, right? So I just think that Disney has opened it up to where they're just going to keep providing Star Wars content for ever. I mean, the sky is the limit. And since the first three movies really dropped, all of the comic books kind of blew up too. So there's just so much more that's already been written. Well, now you just got to tie it in.
I'll say this too, you know, who's beautifully, if you my opinion here, who's taken George Lucas's place and just done a bang up John Favreau, just moving right in there. He's like the godfather of Star Wars right now, and he's doing a bang up job. I mean, this guy's great. Who would have thought watching Swingers in the mid 90s that this fucking guy is going to like literally give birth to like the Marvel and Star Wars universes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and have you noticed that in Mando and Boba Fett, it's like always a different director? Like he keeps bringing in fresh faces for new takes.
Robert Rodriguez has done a few episodes. The guy that did like Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico and a couple other movies. It's been interesting to see the diversity of people directing different episodes. They've just done a fabulous job. I can't say enough about how excited and just reinvigorated I am about the Star Wars universe. Yeah. And like we were just talking about, 7-year-old kid right now, Elizabeth, my daughter, she's balls deep in it, bro. I mean, we've watched all of Mando, Boba Fett. We've watched A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. We just finished Return of the Jedi the other night. And now I have this like horrible parental dilemma. Do I go to episode 1, 2, and 3, or do I follow the natural timeline order of the story and just take her, and then do I backtrack to 1, 2, and 3 after I do 7, 8, 9? I just don't know what to do. I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.
I would give her the Mando series and then go back before you go to 7 and go back to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Right. And then she can watch Rogue One. Yeah. And go see what actually happened with the Death Star there.
It's very exciting though. Who would have thought I would have these kind of issues, these kind of horrible dilemmas that I'd be like, oh my God, does she watch the theatrical timeline or does she watch the universe timeline? I just don't know what's going to be better for her upbringing. I don't want to scar her for life.
What a great first world problem to have.
Yes, absolutely, man. Well, I think we're about there, buddy.
We are there. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Righteous Gemstones, but for those that want to know, Danny Mcbride has a new show, Righteous Gemstone. It's not even new. It's 2 seasons are out, but
and he's done it again. That's all we got to say.
Yeah, it's just fucking amazing. Do yourself a favor and watch Righteous Gemstone. It's on HBO Max.
Absolutely. Get out there. We'll definitely, we could talk about it more on the next show. I think it deserves some commentary, but we are definitely out of time. This beautiful show has to come to a close, Bob. And this is always the hardest part for you and I. You know what I mean? But I just, before I start crying, I'm going to let you just close us out. You know what I mean? Well,
thank you everyone for listening. Again, keep your eye on Ukraine and what's going 100%. On over there. Keep your thoughts with those families that are dealing with that. Like and subscribe us on YouTube. Check us out. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Share us on Facebook. Spread the word. Spread the cheer. The stiff truth is near.
I like what you did there.
But anyway, that said, again, I'm Bob West with Scott Casanova, and we will see you next week.
And scene.